Bartenders, when were you too late to stop someone from drinking? A woman walked into my bar looking like she'd been crying for hours, which meant she was dangerous. Her mascara had left black streaks down her cheeks, and her hands shook as she pulled out a bar stool. She asked for something to get hammered with, and then ordered a Coca-Cola, which should have been my first red flag. I told her we only had the glass bottles that night, and she said that was perfect. She gripped that bottle like it was keeping her afloat while she started talking. The words poured out of her faster than the drinks I was making for other customers. She told me she'd been valedictorian at her college, full ride scholarship to law school already lined up. Her boyfriend was in his last year of med school, and they had their whole future planned out. They were going to be this power couple traveling the world with dual incomes and no kids. She showed me a photo on her phone of them at some fancy gala, and they looked like they belonged in a magazine. But then her voice got quieter, and she started peeling the label off the Coke bottle. She said she'd found videos on his laptop. At first, she thought it was porn, but then she recognized the bedroom. It was his. The women in the videos were unconscious, and she could tell something was seriously wrong with how still they were. She kept talking while ordering beers for other people at the bar. She'd point to someone and tell me to get them another round, then go back to her story. The whole time, she never touched anything but that Coke. The worst part came when she recognized one of the women in the videos. It was her best friend from freshman year who'd gone to a party at his place and woke up the next morning with no memory of how she got home. Her friend had been too scared and confused to report anything, just tried to forget it happened. This woman sitting at my bar started connecting dots. Other girls who'd mentioned weird blackouts after hanging out with him. Friends who'd stopped coming around after parties at his apartment. She said she went through all the videos and counted at least 12 different women. My stomach was turning as she talked. I wanted to say something comforting, but what could possibly help in that situation? She told me how she'd confronted him and he'd laughed. Actually laughed and said nobody would believe her over a future doctor. That's when she'd gone to the police, but they said the videos weren't enough evidence without the victims coming forward. Her grades tanked after that. She couldn't focus on studying when she kept thinking about those videos. She failed her finals and lost her scholarships. Had to move back home while he graduated med school like nothing happened. He was doing his residency now at a hospital 2 towns over. The woman ordered another round for a booth in the corner, then turned back to her Coke. She'd been gripping it so tight her knuckles were white. That's when she looked me straight in the eyes and said something that made my blood run cold. "Do me a favor and call 911. I reached for my phone, confused. Okay, but what for? Before I could blink, she was on her feet. She raised that glass Coke bottle over her head and brought it down hard on a man sitting in the corner booth. The sound of glass meeting his skull echoed through the bar. He collapsed forward onto the table, and she didn't hesitate. She smashed the broken bottle against the table edge, creating a jagged weapon. Then she started stabbing at his legs through his jeans. Blood spread across the fabric as she made sure he couldn't run away. The whole bar erupted in screams, and people jumping back from their tables. "Start throwing up right now!" she yelled at the girl sitting across from him. "He put something in your drink! Make yourself puke!" The girl looked terrified, but stuck her fingers down her throat. Within seconds, she was vomiting onto the floor, while the man groaned and tried to crawl away with his bleeding legs. The woman stood over him, still holding the broken bottle like a knife. "I finally got you, you motherflower." That's when I realized who he was. The boyfriend from the photo. The doctor she'd been telling me about. He'd been sitting in my bar and I never noticed him.